Scenes from the pro-Palestinian protest at Trump Tower today. Yeah, let's take a look at it. You saw Noah Coleman, right? Yeah, Noah. I mean, here's a image of him right here. Noah was arrested too. Which honestly, this image does go hard.
Deported after he helped lead protests against the war in Gaza at the university last year.
This is JVP, which I also belong to. If Chad is interested in joining or have questions, DM me. So many base anti-Zionist Jews out there. Absolutely. Also, keep the good work, AFK routing. Keep it up.
Homeland Security officials have accused Khalil of being a Hamas sympathizer. Let's go right now outside live at Trump Tower with CNN's Omar Jimenez, who is on the scene. Omar, give us the latest.
Yeah, so Boris, about 100 people were arrested as part of this protest that took place inside Trump Tower behind me on multiple levels, 2 different levels of that main sort of lobby entrance to the tower here, as we understand from police. And they were protesting on behalf of Mahmoud Khalil. Jewish Voice for Peace was the group that was leading these particular protests that we saw. And when we first got to the scene, we saw dozens of protesters in zip ties being loaded onto buses where they were taken to central booking, as we understand from New York police. But the chants that we heard from supporters that even gathered on the outside of some of these barriers that police put in place to keep crowds sort of at bay were things like fight Nazis, not students, and protesting on behalf, again, of Khalil, who is still being held in ICE custody as those legal proceedings play out as well. We spoke to one of the organizers of Jewish Voice for Peace about why they wanted to come out here. And to them, they said they did not want the First Amendment entrenched on, which is what they believe Khalil was doing over the course of leading some of the protests we saw out of Columbia University. But also they wanted to show solidarity from the Jewish people as well. Those were the words that one of the organizers told me as we spoke to her. And then when they undid their jackets, it revealed the red shirts that represented the Jewish Voice for Peace. But again, a protest that resulted in about 100 arrests. There were no violent incidents in regards to the arrests themselves.
It was clearly a secretively planned protest, and they were arrested as they should be. They trespassed, but they were also nonviolent.
They were arrested as they should be. No, they shouldn't. They should not be arrested. It's a public shopping place. Like this is where the retail outlets are in Trump Tower. It's like saying you can't have a protest at the mall. Sorry, can't have a protest at the local food court. I will not diminish or look down my nose at these protesters or anyone who is attempting to raise awareness of these issues. I will only say that I think that, getting yourself purposefully arrested is not a good strategy. As, Brett pointed out yesterday, you're doing more than most people if you're in their position. I think that we have to adjust a little bit of our strategy, because while, yeah, you're going to get out in a couple hours and you're going to have a court date, maybe a fine, and this is going to get dropped. That's only for now. You will be let out in a couple hours. That's the problem. This needs to adjust for the current iteration of American fascism. They are deporting green card holder protesters. That's only one step removed from a documented citizen. JVP does other stuff too? Of course they do. Of course. Like I said, I'm not diminishing this. I just think that we can't risk people not getting out of jail. It only takes one order from the president to be like, don't let them out of jail. And then Eric Adams will tell the NYPD,
hold them in limbo. Keep transferring them to different facilities.
Takes one order. I don't want these people who are dedicating their lives to trying to stop fascism, trying to stop genocide in their own way that they can, to be lost in the system. I don't want that to happen to them.
Of nonviolent protests, we'll see what happens in the courtroom or what's decided about them. I have no doubt that there will be increased surveillance and security around Trump's commercial entities. And this is the interesting thing about Trump, without getting into whether he should or shouldn't do it. And we saw this with Elon Musk with the Teslas. Because they've broken down the distinction between their public roles and their private commercialization, monetization roles, you are seeing these protests touch them in their commercial space. We saw this with Elon Musk and attacks on Tesla, as well as now this protest. Donald Trump cannot close down Trump Tower. It's a commercial space. It's a residential space. And so they are sort of dealing with, I think, in some ways, the consequences of that merger of monetization and policy and the First Amendment.
So these arrests, charging people with obstructing government administration for failing to move when the dispersal order came because the location is private property, and in certain cases resisting arrest. Tell us about those charges.
It's private property, but it's public access. It's like a mall. Like, you can go in. It is technically private property, but you can go in without any kind of like pre-authorization. They shouldn't have private interests. Yeah, man, like you are at the president's private like company tower. Hey, maybe we should ask a question of, should the president still have a private company? Should his family still have that, considering that they're like deeply tied to the administration?
And this is classic left over there going into Trump Tower, which certainly is a public area, but they are there trespassing at some point when they're told to leave. They're there obstructing the police and the police's effort to get them out of there, and they're there resisting arrest because they're there because they believe in Mahmoud Khalil, and they want Mahmoud to have all of his constitutional rights, a guy who's been in the country for 2 years.
They want him to have his constitutional rights? Yeah. How is that full of hate and also bad? You're just saying like, oh.
They want him to be free, they support him, and they want him to have his constitutional rights.
It's like, okay, you're making them sound pretty cool.
Israel and pretty much hates all of our Western values.
Oh my God, hang on.
And Mahmoud Khalil. And they want Mahmoud to have all of his constitutional rights, a guy who's been in the country for 2 years, who believes in the takedown of Western civilization and who hates Israel and pretty much hates all of our Western values.
Okay. Free speech, baby. Free speech. I'm a goddamn American, okay? Most people don't know what any of those words mean. They're, apply whatever you feel like to takedown of Western civilization, hates our values, and hates Israel. Apply whatever you want to that. But on the surface, none of those things are bad or illegal.